In the early 1990s, while James Cameron was working on a Spider-Man movie, Charlie Sheen was very eager to play the lead role. However, Cameron wasn't very keen on the idea. After Titanic, he said his only choice for the role was Leonardo DiCaprio, but the project was shelved. Later, David Fincher was offered the director's chair. In his version, Spider-Man's origin story would be told in the opening sequence, and the film would be based on the comic The Night Gwen Stacy Died. However, that didn't happen either. Chris Columbus was also offered the director role, but he chose to direct Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone instead. Eventually, Sony chose Sam Raimi as the director. One of the main reasons Raimi was hired was because he owned a collection of more than 25,000 comic books. For a big-budget Spider-Man movie, the first actor considered for Peter Parker was Heath Ledger. However, Ledger turned it down, saying, "I don't want to steal someone else's dream." In the 1990s, Stan Lee revealed that Michael Jackson wanted to play Spider-Man. Although Sam Raimi wanted Tobey Maguire in the lead role, the studio was initially reluctant. But after watching his screen test and seeing that he had gained significant weight for the role, the producers changed their minds. Before the test, Maguire did a short training regimen. After landing the part, he went through an intense 5-month diet and exercise program. To transform into Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire trained 6 days a week for 5 months, incorporating weight training, martial arts, and a strict diet to develop a muscular physique. He ate 4 to 6 high-protein meals a day. Interestingly, both Maguire and Willem Dafoe included a yoga technique called Ashtanga in their workouts. The word means 8 limbs, just like spiders. Before accepting the role, Tobey Maguire admitted he had never read a Spider-Man comic, but said he liked the script. After the first film, he signed on for 2 sequels, earning a total of $26 million. However, this money didn't seem to be enough, as rumors surfaced that he faked a back injury to negotiate a higher salary for Spider-Man 2. Sony executives were reportedly angry and even considered firing Maguire. Jake Gyllenhaal was suggested as a replacement, but after Maguire apologized to the producers and director Sam Raimi, he kept the role. Green Goblin's costume was initially heavier and more armored, but because Willem Dafoe insisted on doing his own stunts instead of using a double, a lighter and more flexible costume was created. The final suit, which had 580 parts, took Dafoe half an hour to put on. He performed about 90% of his action scenes himself and even accidentally broke Tobey Maguire's jaw during the final fight scene. When Peter Parker first tries out his web powers, he shouts a few famous catchphrases from DC Comics. Interestingly, these lines weren't in the script. Maguire improvised them on the spot. The wrestler Bonesaw McGraw, whom Peter fights for money, was played by real-life wrestling legend Macho Man Randy Savage. Ironically, Savage began his wrestling career under the name The Spider. During filming, a mishap occurred. Savage was thrown into the ropes, injured his neck, and fell on his head, a moment that is visible in the movie. In the comics, Peter uses web shooters to launch synthetic web fluid. A scene depicting this was filmed, including a shot of Peter practicing in his room, but the idea was later scrapped in favor of a concept from James Cameron's earlier plan, where Peter's webs organically emerge from his wrists. Director Sam Raimi responded to fans' criticism of this change by saying it wouldn't be believable for a high school student to invent a device that even major companies couldn't produce. So organic webs made more sense. In Norman Osborn's transformation scene, the smoke in the lab was originally white, but was digitally altered to green. Raimi wanted to use real green smoke, but the set designers couldn't produce safe-colored smoke, so CGI was used. When Tobey Maguire wore the Spider-Man costume, a tight-fitting base suit was made and then layered with special materials to give it shape. The costume was designed as a single piece. excluding the mask, and the detailed web patterns were laser-cut by computer. Originally, the design didn't allow Maguire to use the restroom without removing the entire suit. Eventually, a discrete flap was added to solve this issue. According to visual effects supervisor John Dykstra, the Spider-Man scenes were some of the most complex of his career. One major challenge was conveying emotion through a masked character, since facial expressions through eyes and mouth were lost. To solve this, animators emphasized Spider-Man's body language to express emotion. James Franco's hair was dyed brown to make him look more like his on-screen father, Willem Dafoe. But this decision was made after filming began. So in the scene where Harry visits Aunt May in the hospital, Franco's hair is still black, because it was his first day on set. In the movie's first trailer, there was a scene where bank robbers attempt to escape in a helicopter. In a close-up, the chopper hovers in the air. As the camera pulls back, it's revealed that the helicopter is caught in a giant web spun between the twin towers of the World Trade Center. After the 9/11 attacks, the trailer was pulled and the scene was removed from the film entirely. Sony also decided to collect all Spider-Man posters after September 11th. These posters showed the Twin Towers reflected in Spider-Man's eyes. However, not all of them were recovered, and the remaining ones are now highly valuable to collectors. For the Spider-Bite scene, Raimi refused to use CGI and wanted to shoot with a real Black Widow spider. However, because it was venomous, this wasn't possible. Instead, a Steatoda grossa spider was specially trained and painted by expert Stephen Kutcher for the scene. When Willem Dafoe took on the role of Norman Osborn, he had to wear dental prosthetics because the producers felt someone as wealthy as Osborn wouldn't have uneven teeth. However, Dafoe's real teeth can be briefly seen in the mirror scene, where Osborn talks to the Green Goblin. Did you notice that during the Thanksgiving dinner scene, Peter Parker and Norman Osborn are wearing the colors of their enemies? Osborn even combines all three: green shirt, red tie, and blue blazer. Several famous actors were considered for the role of J. Jonah Jameson, including R. Lee Ermey, Hugh Laurie, Harve Presnell, Dennis Farina, Michael Keaton, Fred Ward, and Bill Paxton. In the end, the role went to J.K. Simmons. Interestingly, Jameson's character was said to be based on Simmons himself, and although Jameson auditioned for the role, he wasn't initially cast. Still, Simmons received widespread praise for his performance. Producer Laura Ziskin showed a scene of Peter crawling on a wall in his wrestling costume to investors, claiming it was from Maguire's screen test, when in fact, the scene was entirely CGI. Stan Lee makes his usual cameo in the movie, but he also had a dialogue scene originally written for him. In the deleted scene, he calls out to Peter. Although this scene was cut, it can still be found on the DVD and Blu-ray. The cafeteria scene where Peter catches Mary Jane's tray and food in mid-air was almost scrapped due to time and budget constraints. Initially, 2 days were planned for the shoot, but it was reduced to 1. Raimi and producer Laura Ziskin were determined to keep it in the film. Tobey Maguire successfully performed the stunt on the 156th take. Raimi preferred using traditional practical effects in the film, but John Dykstra stated that Spider-Man's agility couldn't be recreated physically, so CGI was used. However, Raimi made sure every VFX scene included some real footage to keep it grounded. Initially, the Green Goblin's look was designed to be much closer to the comics: green skin, pointed ears, a long chin, sharp teeth, and terrifying eyes. Prosthetics were even made for this version. But after test screenings, the design was deemed too frightening for children, and a more robotic look was chosen instead. Although the characters in the film were supposed to be high school seniors, their real ages were quite different. Tobey Maguire was 26, James Franco was 23, and Kirsten Dunst was 19. Before Peter transforms into a superhero, he has a skinny body, but that wasn't Tobey Maguire's real physique. Because Maguire had spent months bulking up, it wasn't suitable for the scene. Instead, his head was digitally placed onto a thinner body using CGI. The set used for Norman Osborn's mansion was located at Warner Brothers Studios. Interestingly, it was also used in Tim Burton's Batman. Raimi took special care to disguise the location so audiences wouldn't recognize it. The house was decorated with masks from around the world to establish Osborn as a mask collector, providing a logical explanation for how he acquired the Green Goblin mask. Raimi and VFX supervisor John Dykstra worked tirelessly to plan the web-swinging scenes. Raimi described these sequences as ballet in the sky. Because of their complexity, the film's budget increased from $70 million to $100 million. The iconic final scene of Spider-Man swinging through New York skyscrapers was the most time-consuming to complete. It was created entirely with CGI and was worked on from the beginning of production until the end. In fact, it was the last scene to be finished. The final touches came just before release. The entire process took 18 months. Throughout the film, Green Goblin, played by Dafoe, kills at least 12 people, making him far more deadly than any villain in other Spider-Man films. In Spider-Man: Far From Home, for example, Mysterio causes large-scale destruction but avoids civilian casualties. In short, the Green Goblin remains Spider-Man's bloodiest enemy. When Spider-Man was released, it broke the record for the highest opening day gross at the time, earning $39.4 million. This record was later surpassed by Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3, which made $59.8 million on its opening day. But that wasn't all. On its second day in theaters, Spider-Man earned $43.4 million worldwide, entering the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest single-day gross. It also became the first film to gross over $100 million on its opening weekend, a feat no film had achieved before, even when adjusted for inflation. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Take care.